Friends, it's wonderful to be with you. With your permission, I'm going to take off my jacket, and then I can move around more freely. It is a real honor to be with you. 25 years I've been in the States, and in that time my research spent the bulk of it actually on the loss of membership in mainline congregations. And I started that research in 2002 with significant studies and papers and things like that. And then after that, I came out with work on how do you actually transform a student to be a pastor? How do you do that? It certainly does not happen by reading books. It certainly does not happen by listening to lectures. So how does it happen? And those two paths sort of crisscrossed all of my research. What you see there is the cover page of a book that will come out this October, and I imagine it will be available here in South Africa maybe in January or thereabouts, but that's the cover page. The title is The Millennial Narrative. That's the title of the book. The subtitle of the book is Sharing the Good Life with the Next Generation. Sharing the Good Life with the next generation. How I came to the book is from teaching. Now I've been teaching 18 years, teaching multiple classes of seminarians, and seeing the changes that they bring to my classroom and the things that they have taught me. And one of the things that they have taught me is that I cannot do the same old. It doesn't work. And if I don't adapt and change, nothing really happens in my classrooms, which means nothing happens outside the classroom either. So that's one place where it happened. The second one is just a very deep concern for mainline Christianity. And I think mainline Christianity may not be around much beyond, I think, 2060, in that range, 2050, 2060. They've been bleeding membership at about 1.5 to 1% of membership per year, but they've been doing that since the late 1960s when they peaked. And so then it's just common math that if you lose that number of memberships per year, if you go 100 years out, you're going to have very few people left. But before that, systems will implode, because buildings cost money, executives cost money. There are systems that have to be maintained, and where will the money come from to maintain all of these systems? So deep concern that sort of came into my soul. At a very sort of a personal level, I'm the dad of 2 teenage girls. Now, they're fluent in Afrikaans, they can speak English, of course, because they were born in America, they are fluent in Spanish, they are modern kids. But, to my shock and horror, I had to admit that they will never believe the way I believe. Never. It happened a few months ago, actually, about a year ago, when Jamie, my oldest, had to do her confirmation of faith. I'm ordained in the Presbyterian church, so we go to a Presbyterian church. And over dinner, we eat dinner every night in my household. Even if you're not hungry, you have to come and join the conversation. But we are together every night for an hour plus. And I ask her, so tell me, what are you going to do with your confirmation of faith? In my church, kids write a credo, their statement of faith, which they read in front of the whole congregation. And you know, as the dad, I was thinking, I don't want you to read something that reflects poorly on me, because 400 people are going to listen to the statement that you are writing. And as she started talking, I recognized there is not a thing about Reformed tradition, Reformed theology. There is absolutely nothing of that in her confession of faith. So the next day I sat and I drafted all the main foci for her. And at the next dinner, I said, here, this is what we believe. And she kind of looked at it and took it to her bedroom. And Sunday came and she stood up in front of the congregation and she read her statement of faith. Not a single thing I said was in her statement of faith. But this is a kid who at the age of 14 started working with immigrants, and I'm going to tear up. At the age of 14, she started working with immigrants who cannot speak English. And every Saturday, she goes out to teach the immigrants, many of them without the papers you need to be in the United States, how to read English. But then she helps mom and dad to fill out school forms so that their kids can go to school. Because if you can't fill out a school form, how are you going to get your kid into a school? It doesn't work like that. Now, when it comes to Sunday, after she spent all of her Saturday morning doing that, do I have to say to her, now you have to come to church, and for the next hour we're just going to sit and you're going to listen, when that is the last thing on earth that she wants to do? So I'm personally invested in this project, not just because of my concern for the church, but because I really believe that our children will never believe the way we believe. And maybe that's okay. The project itself is a really fun project. So I went, and from Puerto Rico on the East Coast to Los Angeles on the West Coast, chose a couple select millennials who I think are doing phenomenal ministry. And I invited them to co-write each chapter with me a little bit. So they wrote about a fifth of each chapter they wrote with me. Then, because I believe the millennial narrative would be for all people and not just for millennials, there will be a study guide where in the US you have adult education on Sundays after church, and people can work through the book in a shorter format. But I'm not naive. The very people I'm writing for, millennials, will never read my book. They will never read my book. So I went to some wonderful musicians in Nashville, and I said, will you take my book and write 2 songs on every chapter? And that will become a CD and the CD will be called The Millennial Narrative. Because one of the things that I will say today more than once is, you need a story to live into. And a story is not a statement of faith. 2 very different things. And if you can find the story that I think you need to get by just listening to music, that'll be grace right there. The 4th component will be a sermon outlines for pastors that you can download so that you can preach through the book of Joel easily with some help that I will give you. So that's what the project is all about. We are too many to go by name and introduce ourselves, but I really do just want to get a feel for who you are. So who are the millennials here today? Who are the younger folk? Great to have you here. If I have hope, just raise again because my eyes was fixed here and I couldn't quite follow. Thank you. If I have hope for the church, it's in you. And actually, hopefully you will discover that I'm extremely hopeful for the church because of people like you. But I imagine there's some other folk too. Youth pastors, we have youth pastors here. Some youth pastors, thank you. Senior pastors, we've got some senior pastors. We've got some administrative folk, some faculty. I know Christo is a good friend, of course. We've got some, Kolile is here as well. We've got some faculty there in the back, of course, as well. My teaching with millennials have totally changed the last 4 years. I never, ever give a full syllabus anymore. What I do is I give them 6 weeks of reading that we are all on the same page, and then I go into an individualized learning plan with every student. And I ask the student, what do you want to get out of this class? And we covenant a reading list. We covenant an assignment. And I send them out. And now they have to read on their own. They have to do their work. And then the last 4 weeks, they come back. And now they educate all of us, because in a class of 15, 20, everybody read in a gazillion directions, none of which I knew in advance. And they have expertise that I will never get. So I'm glad that there's faculty here as well, because I think what I'm about to say has a real impact on how we teach, how we structure curriculum, how we do classroom, and things like that.